Okay.
and or maybe go to your account, but either
Yep.
way, we can work it out.
Okay.
And yeah, if we're ready to get started, we'll kick into it. And actually, I'll just be taking some notes and things as I go too. So I've just got my iPad here.
Okay. Yep.
We do that. Excellent.
Yep.
Here we go.
Okay.
Oh, actually, it looks like you have to start the recording.
I do.
Okay.
Oh, do you want me to start the recording?
Yeah, it won't let me do it. I don't have permission to start the recording.
Let me just do this. Allow record. There you go.
Okay. Excellent. Okay.
You're recording?
Hi, listeners. My name's Josh Blakeley. Welcome to the Master Your Money, How to Build Your Entrepreneurial and Financial Mindset to Make More Money and Accelerate Your Business. I'm really pumped to have you here on the line today. The reason I put this summit together is because I want business people, solopreneurs, and people with a side hustle to not just focus on the entrepreneurial side of growing their business, but also on the financial side. So setting themselves up for their future, building wealth, and then protecting that wealth. And today I have Andrew Priestley here. He is a business coach, multiple author, and he also runs a charity in the UK called Clear Sky Children's Charity. And I'm really excited to have Andrew on here. He's got some incredible insights he's going to be sharing with you all. So I'd like to introduce Andrew here. And Andrew, if you could please start telling us a little bit about more about who you are, what you do, and where things are headed for you at the moment.
Josh, thanks very much. I think you covered everything. You got everything in one hit. I do business coaching. I started out in business, specialise in business leadership. So, people say I'm a leadership coach, but I specialise in business leadership, and I believe that leadership is at the heart of most issues that I'm dealing with. So that's why I specialise on it. I've got my side hustle is publishing. I love that. What's your side hustle? So I've got a side hustle, which is publishing books. I have a company called Writing Matters. And basically, we're very, very choosy, Josh, because we just want to publish books that matter. So we'll actually read them and say, is this book going to make a difference? Is this going to, do what it says on the tin? I live in the country, so I'm going to have to shut a door. Otherwise, we're going to hear cows and dogs. One sec. Here we go.
That's right.
See, it's that easy. And the other aspect of it was, which you mentioned, was Clear Sky Children's Charity, which is that charity was set up to provide play therapy for children aged 4 to 12 who've witnessed or experienced a trauma. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it really sounds like you're across a whole bunch of avenues there as well. And I know that probably didn't all start at once. I'd love for you to tell the listeners a bit about what got you into maybe the first step there, the business coaching side of things, and how things have developed there, and why you got into the other areas as well.
Yeah, sure. I actually started out as a school teacher, Josh. Right. I actually went to Deakin University in Victoria in Australia, right, and did school teaching. And I actually worked for the Victorian Education Department for 10 years. And at 10 years, as you know, they give you I think they still do it, but they give you 3 months long service leave, right? And but when I was at university, I was actually in the first intake that Deakin University had. So when it actually became incorporated as a university, and I started the student newspaper there. And in those days, it was what an expression! In those days, it was. We used to do typesetting and bromiding and layouts. And of course, you do that on a computer now. It's all desktop publishing or it's graphic design on a computer. But in those days, it was a manual. And I loved it, absolutely loved it. So I'm teaching, and my side hustle when I was teaching was I was playing in a band and I was surfing, and I was actually producing a surfing newspaper on the side, right?
Wow, okay.
So when I took long service leave, because I was in the music, playing in music, I wanted to get into the entertainment side of it, the social, the living and entertainment side. And I started a newspaper called Big Night Out. When I was actually in competition with Rupert Murdoch at one point there. Rupert won, okay? just so you know about that. And it was an entertainment newspaper it was. I really, really loved it, and I stupidly resigned from teaching. And I thought I can make a go of this. And honest to God, Josh, I was working every hour that God sends me from 12 to 14-hour days, 7 days a week, and after about 6 months, it was just when something's really successful and you think this is amazing. People often say I want to be successful. They don't count on the fact that what happens if you're successful from the get-go, and it's wildly successful, right? So this was really successful, but it was just such a demanding mistress, and after 6 months, I made the decision to shut it down because it was impacting my health. It was impacting my marriage. I was not seeing my kids, and I was doing things like I was going to, because it was the entertainment industry and the hospitality industry, I was going to nightclubs at 2 a.m. in the morning to sign deals, advertising. It was just crazy, absolutely crazy. So I remember I was in Brisbane. Right, I was actually living in Brisbane when I was doing it, and if anyone goes to Brisbane, there's a bridge called the Hornibrook, right, bridge which goes across it's up on the Redcliffe Peninsula there. And I was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd had a big fight with my wife about going into Brisbane to sign this advertising contract, right? Because the owner of the nightclub would only see me at his working hours, which was 2 a.m. in the morning, and my wife said, "You're an absolute idiot for doing this," and I said, no, I need the money. I'm going in there. And in those days, you could cross the bridge and you could do a U-turn and come back on the same side on the same bridge, right?
Yeah, when there was one bridge.
There was one bridge, yeah. And so I'm going across there and I'm thinking, Andrew, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And so I stopped the car, I did a U-turn, I'm driving back, and as I'm driving back, that's the money. It's the money. So I'm getting down there and I go, Andrew, you're an idiot. You need the money. You need the money. So I did a U-turn and I went across on the bridge again. So I'm heading back into Brisbane. And then what about your family? So I did another U-turn. I think I did about 7 U-turns. In the end, I pulled over on the side of the road. I was that frustrated. I think I sat and wept for about 40 minutes. I was that confused. Really, really confused about what to do. And I sat there and I thought, this business is just not compatible with a young family.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? This is absolutely crazy. So I drove home, and over the next week or so, I shut the whole thing down. I made everybody work for me, stop working for me. I ended up with a massive debt because I still had the debt, but with the bank loans and stuff, that just didn't have the business anymore. But I started an advertising agency that was very family friendly, so I could take my kids to school, I could pick them up. And that grew, and then a mate of mine said, why don't we merge? So I merged with someone else, and then I got headhunted. And so I got really good at turning agencies around, and then eventually I worked with an agency where we won a lot of awards. And so our clients were coming and say, how did you do that? How was this? And how have you got that working? And so I'd gone to this agency and cleaned up their studio and cleaned up their revenues. And so we went at one point from doing about 350 turnover up to about 1.8 million, and people going, how did you do that? And a mate of mine came to me and he said, I think you'd make a good business coach. And I said, what the hell's a business coach?
Okay.
So I'm, a lot of years going by here. So what the hell's a business coach? Yeah. And so I went and trained with him, and then I left and I went back to university. I went back to Castledine, QUT in Castledine.
Mm-hmm.
And I did industrial psychology. So I went back as a mature age student. I did industrial organisational psychology, and I started picking up clients like local government, the Department of Trade, CASA. There were mining companies, and it was around that leadership piece. So I'd actually gone from business into leadership, and from there I've been doing that over 25 years now, which is quite amazing. But that's the sort of the quick version of it. But what I discovered, mate, what's important, particularly around, we think, we've got to make money, and we've got to do this. And quite often I still run into people, particularly in the leadership space, who they're in conflict with their values. Yes, you got to make money, but what's the point of doing something where you compromise your integrity, for example? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a lot of talking, but as a result of that, I started running to a lot of businesses who particularly are employing, say, somewhere between, say, 10 and 50 employees. And some of the issues that the leaders would bring to me was, I've got this guy who's working for me, keeps asking me for pay rises, blah, blah, blah. Why is that? Got no money, money issues. But I said, what's their salary? And their salaries were really good. And these were really smart, clever people who were broke, right? And I said, oh, can you fix that? So I ended up doing some research and I wrote a book called The Money Chin.
Excellent book.
And I mean, I have to say, I love this book. Well, I wrote it. See, I know I wrote it because I'm on the back of it, right?
There you go.
But I wrote this and I thought, there I was with a business and I ended up with all these debts. And I remember, Josh, going to, I think the worst day for me was we were going grocery shopping and we got to the checkout and we were paying on the card. There was nothing on the card. It was a direct debit and a credit card. Now you tried to use both and there was nothing in either, right? I thought, I've really got to get out of this. So I started to think about how do I sort my money issues out? And as a business owner, how do I have, things like enough money to pay the bills? And then it was, how do I have more than enough money to pay the bills and things like that? So I had these ideas, but I went back and I did about 3 years research where I read about 140 books. I did 43 courses on this. A great course with Diana Matthew, who wrote a book called The Money Tree, which I don't think you can get anymore because she withdrew it because it was really in the days when we dealt with cash rather than direct deposits and stuff. And then I looked at easily hundreds of websites on that. And basically what I discovered was because I'd done a science degree, I did a meta-analysis. I went back and wrote down all the ideas and what are all these books saying? And I found that there was basically 10 big things that they were talking about, right? And if you look at all these books and have a look at all these books behind me here, they might have 5 of those ideas or 7 of those ideas or 6 of them or whatever it is. But I couldn't find a book that had all 10 of the ideas in it. So I put all of the 10. This is like an overture to those books, if you like. So if you want to do deeper reading, by all means, pick up. There's a reference section in the book, back of the books I recommend you should read. But this covers the 10 big ideas. Do you want me to tell you what they are?
Go for it. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Well, the 5 money habits are earning. You know this better than anyone. Earning, spending, saving, investing, and giving. Right. So those are the 5 things you do with your money: earn, spend, save, invest, and give. But the money managing skills are monitoring, tracking what you're doing, focusing, targeting. And now that I've tracked something, what do we need to increase? What do we need to cut back on? So you set targets, right? So the next one's targeting. Reduce your spending is number 3. Well, trim back if you have to, but reduce your spending. And the rule there is spend less than you earn, right? And in developing your financial smarts, which is training, right? And then obviously the last one is take action. It's pointless. You can learn all this stuff if you don't take action. So a big thing in the book is to get people to take action. And I looked at money books and they were really dry arguments. So I thought, how can I make this really, really accessible so particularly young professionals can access it? So I set a rule that no chapter was going to be longer than 2 pages. And in some cases, a page and a half. And in some cases, have a look at this for a chapter, right? That's 1 chapter right there. So it was half a page. And for whatever reason, the book has gone worldwide. I get emails every day from particularly young professionals who read the book who said, you must know, Josh, people get into awful trouble with their finances, and it's avoidable.
It's and there's so many experiences that people have with money. I really like that it's a fantastic book. Anyone who's listening, you need to check it out. But I really like how you've just distilled down into those real bite-sized pieces of information where you can be reading one bit a day. I know your podcast, you go through a similar situation there too. I know when I'm speaking to clients about money, part of the area we delve into is our first experiences as upbringing around money, because it's how we think about it. And you just touched on two stories before. One was deciding between your family and the money side with the business, and then also your experience in the checkout there with your debit card. I'd love to dive in. What was the very first experience you had with money, or the first memory you had in dealing with money?
Yeah, look, have we got tissues? I was thinking about this the other day, Josh. I was actually thinking about this because I do a podcast on Spotify, right, called Multiply Your Money, and I actually decided to go across to video as well, right? So it's also, I think I've got a Facebook thing called Multiply Your Money. And I was thinking about this because what you're saying, it's really important. But, okay, if I go for an obvious one, when I was a kid, my brother and I used to live behind the Brighton golf course in Melbourne, right? And we used to hunt for golf balls in the rough and go sell them to golfers. And I remember going up to a guy saying, "How much is a golf? Do you want to buy a golf ball?" And he'd say, "How much?" I say, 50 cents. And the guy went, 50 cents? Oh, that's a lot. And so, when you could buy, a second-hand golf ball, 10 cents or something like that, he said, all right. So he gave me the 50 cents, right? I think he probably thought this is some nuggety little 6-year-old who's trying it on, but hey, it's only 50 cents. And I just felt like I can't tell you how I felt. I made this, I think I went home with about $3.50 in my pocket. And it was just like it was too much. It was like, man, I was getting 20 cents pocket money a week, right? When you could buy an ice cream and all sorts of stuff for 20 cents, but I had $3.50, and it just made me think, oh yeah, I could do this, So that was a good experience, but I don't think you can do this nowadays. I don't think they'll allow you to do it. But when I was 7, I was selling salt and pepper shakers door to door in the days when parents would let their kids go selling stuff to make extra pocket money. And when we had Bob a Job in Scouts, for example, I don't think we let our kids do that anymore. But that was probably the earliest experience of it. Yeah.
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 That's a good one. That's really interesting. It from what you're saying there, it sounds like that probably kickstarted your journey into realizing, hey, I can make money in business. Would that be correct in saying that?
I would say, Josh, let me just, there's a word here. It's earn money. What I learned how to earn money, and a lot of people want to make money, but what's the saying? The only people who make money work in the mint, right? The rest of us have to earn it, but a lot of people don't get that equation. They don't see earning is about that exchange of value, right?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm thinking, well, why would you pay 4 times as much for a golf ball? And the exchange of value was maybe the guy felt good about an entrepreneurial kid. And maybe that was they thought, yeah, I recognise something in that kid in myself or something. That was maybe the exchange of value. It wasn't the golf ball. And so it was really, what I learned at a young age was it was about, even though I didn't have the words, it was about how you make people feel when you're doing business. Did they get a good feeling? And then I really, nowadays I know it's all about articulating value. I got to hang out with Jay Abraham, and I don't know if you know Jay Abraham, but I asked Jay one time, what's the secret? You're the highest paid marketing expert on the planet. What's the secret to this? And he said, if you could just give it down to one thing, he said, well, most people I talk to don't know how to articulate value. That's why I get paid really well, because I can help them find the value better than they can. And like I mentioned about values before, I'm on a bridge confronting my values. I had to articulate what was the value for me, and it was about family values. That became important. But I see that in business too, that people can't articulate the value in what they're doing.
Yeah,
they can't do that. But yeah, my earliest memories were around going door to door and trying to sell stuff and things like that, which I don't think parents would let kids do that now.
No, I think it's a bit different unless you're unless you're selling Girl Scout cookies or something like that.
Yeah, but I think even a parent now accompanies them. So even on things like Halloween and trick or treating, and which I don't like, but But I don't, the days when kids would do that without an adult, and that's good. That's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. But yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I really like that. My next question was going to be about who are the mentors or people that you've learned from along the way, and you just shared that story about Jay Abraham and articulating value. So would you say, in the story of you doing the U-turn on the bridge, that's articulating the value to yourself, and it was Jay Abraham's comment more around articulating value to the target audience?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, people. I mean, value is a really, really interesting thing. But I know we're talking about money, skills, and things like that. But you've got to really think: what are my values around money? How do I relate to money? Because I find most people today, young people particularly, they know how to earn and they know how to spend. Right? It's the saving and the investing and the giving bit that they're not across. So subsequently, we know, I talk to people like My Bank and My Money Dashboard and people like that, and we know that most young people, and when I say young people, I'm talking about 18 to 28, it's millennials particularly, right? They're spending 130% of their disposable income. So if you've got $100 disposable income, they're spending 130, and how are they doing it? Well, on credit card. So it's no surprise that My Bank tells us that young professionals owe $9.7 billion on credit cards in the UK, right? And they're probably 2 paydays away from broke. And I deal with a lot of business owners who have no cash reserves whatsoever. They don't have, for example, in my business, I have 6 months worth of overheads in cash in the business. So I don't really panic too much. But a lot of my clients, that's what I teach them. It's personal finance or business finance. Have cash reserves, have buffer in there. Emergency money for when the boiler breaks or when your car breaks down or for dental treatments but have 6 months worth of living expenses like your rates, your utilities, your mortgage payments in cash. Well, how do I get that? Well, I hate to say it, you've got to spend less than you earn, and you've got to learn how to save. Then you create surplus, which allows you to invest. And then, so we know that there are 3 big principles, and one of them, and you know this better than anyone, is spend less than you earn, is principle number 1. Number 2 is plan for your future. You have not a future, trust me. Plan for it. And it's naive to say, well, I think I'll just party and then stop worrying about this. And the third one is make your money make more money. And do that legally, by the way. Do that legitimately. But, I don't know about you, but, I didn't wake up thinking I know how to manage money. And I don't, most people I talk to, wake up one morning and go, now I know how to do it. No. It's like anything. You've got to immerse in it. You've got to train it. I know people who are no good at marketing. I'm no good at marketing. So there's their excuse for not learning about how to market. I don't know how to write a business plan. So there's my excuse for not writing one. I'm no good with money. So there's my reason for staying broke and having money worries and fighting with my loved ones. Isn't it crazy, Josh, that we love somebody and we argue over money with them? The person we love, we're having arguments about money with, instead of saying, let's do something about that together and work this out.
Together, yeah.
And I see people who say, I'll solve the problem. I said, well, you're in a marriage, or in a partnership, well, do it together. And so that's part of family values. And so a lot of times you are confronted by your values. You've got to think, what are my values around this? What does money mean to me? Why? I asked this question on the YouTube question the other day. People say, I want to manage my money. Why? Why do you want to manage your money? Right? And it's surprising when I ask people that, they don't know. They run out of answers very, very quickly. So they're just not even thinking about a basic thing like, I need to manage money. People say, I want more money. I say, why do you want more money? Why? I know what you want, and I know you want to know how, but right stuck in the middle is why.
Yeah.
They don't get the why. So, you asked the question, what are your earliest memories about childhood? Why is that important? It is important, but why is it important? I can talk underwater, can't I?
It's great. There's so much value in there. And dealing with the why to think about, what do you actually want to achieve, and looking forward, planning out your life. you have to delve into the why to get a
Yeah.
picture of that.
But see,
Otherwise,
there you just said it. What do you want to achieve is the what, right? And most people are frightened to ask what, particularly if their earliest childhood memory. Now, I also have a childhood memory of, I remember I was in Geelong and I'm at a bus stop and there was a newsagent behind the bus stop, right? 50 cents is quite an interesting number for me. And do you remember Mad Magazine?
yes.
Yeah.
I think they just shut down.
They just shut down, this year, which is a great loss. Great magazine, right? And what they're doing is they're now going to sell back copies of past issues. They found there's a nostalgia market, but the new market won't. But there's a golden age of I grew up in the golden age of magazine when it was, Mort Drucker and people like that, and Spy versus Spy, and I remember that Mad Magazine put out this special edition with some colour posters of Alfred E. Newman, right? And the magazine was 50 cents, right? And I only had 20 cents in my pocket. And I went home and asked my parents, and they, what do you want that for? And blah, blah, blah. And, do you want it or need it? And I really wanted it, and I remember saving up and going back, and of course they'd sold out, and I was gutted, right? I was absolutely gutted, and I had this thing, I don't have enough. So early memories is I'm no good with money. I didn't have enough. Why did I spend money on ice creams? And, I was beating myself up there. And so you get people who come into, I'm no good with money, sitting at the back of that as that early memory. Well, what you're saying is, the past equals the future. I can't learn anything. And isn't it a neat trick that you can then go hands off and say, well, I don't have to learn anything, or I don't have to come and talk to someone like Josh or myself, or I don't have to read a book now because I'm no good with money. There's my get out of jail card. Well, you'll probably need a get out of jail card if you take that approach to life.
That's right. Yeah. It's only going to get worse. Yeah.
Trust me. It is only going
to get worse. Yeah.
But the good news is, the book says spend less, save more, get out of credit card debt. And I don't know about your experience, but most young professionals I talk to, in most cases, it might take some smart thinking and hard work, but in most cases they can be debt-free, or very close to starting on the track of being debt-free within 90 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
They can be. You can do magic. I bet you've worked magic with people in 90 days.
That's one of our key areas to set up that plan at the beginning, and then once people see it's achievable, they can start to see the pathway to get there. Then this issue that they've been hiding for so long,
right,
is doable. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'll go back to what you said. So if you're listening in, what you just said was know what to do, and once they see it's doable, in other words, how to do it. So you've got the what and the how, and I know that you can tell people what and you can tell them how, and they still won't do it. So the missing ingredient is the why.
Dig deeper. Yeah, that's it.
See, I know what you want to do, and I know how to do it. Trust me, folks. Josh knows how to work with you. He knows the two. I mean, you don't sit there and wonder, how am I going to do this? You know exactly how. You mentioned we do a plan. That's the what. We do a plan. And the plan tells you how. But unless you do the why, and you really dig deep on the why. And I know people who, Simon Sinek, start with why or find your why or whatever the book's called. But why is like, a lot of people. When they talk about pay me more, they're talking about incentivizing or the hygiene of the job. I go, this is how much I get, this is where I start, here's where I finish. But that's not motivation. And the reason I know this is because in the charity, I have people who will come and put in a full day in the charity, okay, a full day. And running a charity, basically it's based on volunteers. Why the hell would someone volunteer to do a full day in a charity where they're not getting paid? Why do they do that? Because they're motivated, not incentivized. People are on tremendous incomes who complain about their work, who just pay me more money to do this. They've got the incentives, but there's no motivation there. So the why is a big part. I'm big on the why. Why do you want more money? Why do you want to sort your money worries out? Those sort of things.
Yeah.
And also cut off the retreat. Grow up. There's things I look for. I look for when I'm talking to people about money. I'm looking for that maturity. I'm looking for a mature approach to the money, where it's balanced, it's grounded, where there's some responsibility taken, some accountability, and I'm also looking for some consistency. And underpins that as a strength that I've got money worries, and I'm actually going to do this. So for me, you've got to get a passion for working with money. And passion for me is not the emotional thing, but it's the direction. I've got to know the direction. That's why you need that plan. A lot of people confuse passion with emotion. The reason why you're passionate is because you know where you're going. So for me, passion's about direction, right? But you also need that determination, that strength of character, and you've got to work on that muscle, because it's so easy to revert back to old memories where I'm no good with money. But you need that determination to say, you know what, in the past I might have been no good with money. I remember when I was no good with money. And I remember when I was no good with money. I certainly remember. Yeah. But I fixed it. I fixed it. Yeah.
I love that. I love that we've talked about the why, passion, determination there. That's what I wanted to dive in here with our mindset. So final question. I'd like to ask if you can pick one thing in each of these areas that's made the biggest difference in your life. What would it be? So the first area in your financial mindset, what's made the biggest difference there? What's the one thing there?
I think the one biggest difference in financial mindset is it's a couple of things, but it's an honesty, and honesty to me is about being responsible. Grow up. Managing your money is a grown-up's work. It's not kids' work. Okay, well, I've got a little grandson, and I don't expect him to manage his money fully at this age. I'm teaching him little principles like that, but managing your money is grown-up's work. Okay, and I'm not talking about adults here. Adults about chronological age, right? It's because I know, and you and I both know, Josh, a lot of adults who are terrible with money, right? And when you poke the bear, so to speak, what you uncover is a rebellious child who doesn't want to. I just want the money. Why is it so hard? You poke into these childish things. So my one big thing would be grow up. Being a grown up is about being accountable, being responsible, setting that point, digging into your why. Grown ups do that work, right?
Yeah, that's great. And then for an entrepreneurial mindset, what's the biggest area there, and how is it different to the financial mindset?
Okay, just quickly, you talked about solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and side hustles. Well, most people are an entrepreneur for about 15 minutes while they come up with an idea, and this is a whole new topic which we could chat about, but I also wrote a book on that called Starting. And the big thing I learned from that, from working with a lot of businesses, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of businesses, you might have a good idea for a business, but have you got a good business for the idea? So a lot of people got a good idea for a business, but they don't have a good idea for a business. So business planning is a good thing to do, where you actually stress test the assumptions underneath your entrepreneurial idea. And we stress test the assumptions you have around money. That's what you do all day, every day. Stress test people's assumptions. Well, again, the biggest tip would be to take your idea and stress test the assumptions. And trust me, there are assumptions that underpin any idea you've got for a business, right? That's why I wrote this book. And look, Josh, in both cases, there's nothing hidden. There's no bump in either of these books. Buy the book. Everything I know is in the book. There's no upsell or on-sell, or you've got to buy book number 2 or something like that. And I try and support those with the podcast, Multiply Your Money, right? And workshop that I do with people live is contained in here if you want to do it. I don't do anything different than what's in here. The only thing I'm probably adding is chemistry, in the same way that people can read money books. But what you add to the picture is you add that chemistry of asking them questions that they're frightened to answer, and then holding their feet to the fire to get answers, right? So I'd say the one big idea there is stress test the assumptions, because I see so many businesses. I've got a book up here. I mean, let me show you this, because I know we're running out of time, but I've got to show you this book because it's just a classic. It was the first business book that I ever bought, right? And it was a great book, and it's called, look at the book.
That's good.
Bigger Profits in the 80s. Right? It was the first business book I ever read. And look what I was using as bookmarks.
Wow.
Right? So look at that. Look.
Making your money work for you.
Right?
Oh,
so folks, in the good old days, I used to use money as bookmarks. If I had a new book, I'd put money as a bookmark. Look, there's an old £1 note, right, as a bookmark. Right? So use money if you're going to read a really good book on money. Use a $50 note or a $20 note as a bookmark, because it'll just constantly reminds me, Josh, I've got to ask you this, and I know we're probably going a little bit longer, but I ask people all over the world, what's the goal of business?
Well, my goal of business is to serve people and to help as many people as I can as possible.
Wrong answer. Wrong answer. The goal of business is to make money. Okay. The purpose of business is to serve people. People get that up, right? Now, if you're confused about that, ring up the ATO or ring up the IRS or ring up the HMRC and ask, what's the goal of business? And I'll say, make money, because the governments want you to do two things: pay taxes and employ people. And if you're not making money, you can't do either of those things.
Yep.
Now, ATO doesn't care about your purpose; they just care that you're making money. So that's why, books like Bigger Profits is about money. This is why The Money Chimp is about money. This is about starting. There's nothing wrong with making money, because then you get to fulfill your purpose. You get to do that a lot easier, right? And if your purpose is to protect your family and to look after your family, right, and to leverage family values, then money is helping you achieve that purpose. So don't be allergic to money. Don't say, oh, money's bad. No, money's not bad. It's what people do with money that's bad, and how they think about money that's bad, right?
Excellent.
So I think the saying is, it's not money is the root of all evil, it's the love of money is the root of all evil.
Exactly. Yeah, people get that confused
all the time.
They misquote that. It's misquoted all the time. Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing, Andrew. Now, I believe you've got something really cool, the Money Chimp quiz that you've got to share with our listeners for free. How much is this worth?
Well, when people do read this book, they say, the question is, well, okay, I know the 10 things, but what am I like in those 10 things? So I created a quiz that people can take. It's if you do it, if you go to moneychimp.net, right, it's £25, which is about 50 US, 50 Australian dollars, right? If you go on the Facebook group and search Multiply Your Money and join the group, you can actually do the test there for free, right? So you can go in there. Now, in that group, there's nothing. I'm not selling anything inside that group. It's really to support your reading of this book and understanding and depthing some of the principles. But I've created the quiz there. So if you'd like to do that, navigate to Multiply Your Money, and inside there you'll find the link to a whole lot of goodies and treats. But one of them is this quiz. It's 50 questions, takes about 7 minutes, and you get back a very detailed report, 20-page PDF report on all of those 10 areas. So that's my way of saying, thanks for listening in. And my gift to you is this one. This is a great gift to you, folks, is whatever Josh is doing, tune into it, because it's smart money. That's my gift to you. There's my gift. It's the biggest tip I can give you. Whatever Josh says you should do, listen to what he's got to say, because very smart money. That's a bigger gift than what I'm giving, mate.
Fantastic.
My gift is to endorse what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, look, really appreciate your time, Andrew, being on here. And look, that quiz would be great if you want to get a picture of where you need to focus your efforts on. Check out the Money Chimp, and it's starting. Yeah. Very.
It looks like an evil plan, Josh, to become rich off books. You don't become rich off books, right? This book here really is a tenner. It's the best £10 you'll spend in your life, really. It'll change it. And then working with someone like Josh is even better, because then you take that and you depth it, and you really get someone really super sharp on what they're doing. Yeah, super clear on what they're doing. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, listeners. Look, we've got some more incredible speakers lined up here that are going to help you really accelerate your business and make the most of the money you're making in your business there as well. Thank you again for your time. We'll talk to you soon. See you, Andrew.
Yes, God bless. Happy with that?